Yo, 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 yo.
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello? Is this
Hola.
thing going?
Hello. Hello.
What's good for the goose? What's
It's good for the
gander?
ganda.
Oh, Sheila.
Oh, Shayla.
Man, I
What's
know
that?
y'all saw that Morris Day news.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Prince estate is clowning.
We clowning too here. The shenanigans. Going
Mhm.
down. A-Grios. Good
We
morning.
back.
Good morning. Get up and move your body.
Yeah, we back. Like a bad rash.
Get up and move your body.
Ooh.
Going down, y'all.
Get them bodies moving.
That's right.
Mm.
I am up an atom this morning.
All right.
I'm feeling for Paul though. Oh.
You need to feel for me on more reasons than this.
Oh well,
Got all
yeah.
kinds of mess going on back in the scenes. Yeah. For the everybody that's wondering, yes, I am broadcasting live from Vegas right now.
Hey.
Yeah, Pops gives us a good morning from the other room. I'm broadcasting live from Pops' house.
Hey.
Good
Top of the
morning,
morning.
Pops.
Definitely have to put some new respect on Pop's name.
Uh-huh.
Just taking into consideration. Again, I didn't realize it. I knew it was early, but I didn't realize it wasn't the crack of dawn in the middle of night when he tunes into the show. Man.
Him and Miss Willie.
Yeah,
she in New Mexico.
Man.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour difference. I thought it was just one. It's one some of the year, but
yeah,
2 hours during
Really?
yeah, dude. So yeah, 6 o'clock in the morning right now. 5 o'clock in the morning right now. 7 o'clock in the morning, Omaha, Nebraska. What's going on? Thank you for joining us.
Hey.
Yes, you have tripped into the shenanigans this morning. The three A-Grios in the house. On this March the 9th, 2022. Shout out to our crew over there, the radio crew listening to us as well.
Yeah.
And we got an Assalamu Alaikum family from Brother Muhammad.
Hey, walaikum salam, brother.
Good to see you. The three A-Grios, that's right. Junior, so Mayor Sanchez says, Manning, Iowa, or bust. Boy, you be on the road, brother.
Man.
Yeah.
Getting that bag. I don't blame him.
Yeah, thank you for everybody that's waking up with us this Wednesday morning. And and again, we're in a different situation, so let us know about the technical difficulties if you see any.
Yeah.
We know you will. So all the chat chimers, all the First Sky fam, really appreciate you getting up this morning with us. And yeah, definitely appreciate Pops more now with this 2-hour difference.
Yeah, man. And you just got in yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you still haven't gotten that full rest, still kind of jet lagging.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little rough this morning, but we're here and it works. That's all we worried about right now. Wanda Lewis gives us a good morning. Josh Tex says good morning and happy hump day.
Hey, hump day.
What day it is?
All right.
You guessed it. You was right.
You was right. That's right. A Wednesday, March 9th. It is Wednesday this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul gets lost in the sauce sometimes.
Be like, it's Saturday at 2:00.
Look, I know what day it is. And if it wasn't Wednesday, I'd be asleep.
Yeah.
I know what day it is.
I guess you was right.
Yes, indeed.
Miss Keister in the building. Leah Keister saying good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Vicky Young.
I got my Keister in the building too.
Hey. I said good morning. Miss Vicky Young letting the sun shine in. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to all of y'all. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm always appreciative of everybody that gets up so early with us. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who can actually listen? It's not like they rushing to work and stuff. They hanging out.
Some of them are rushing to work. Some of them are driving right now, as a matter of fact.
Man,
so
and still getting us in. So
wait, and texting? Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't be typing good morning while you on the road.
Please drive safely.
Yes, indeed.
Got a good morning from Miss Erica Felt. Good morning to you. We are live. I am live in Vegas right now, live from Pop's house. So we'll see if we can get Pops to come out and make a cameo.
Hey.
But everybody else and Michelle is in the studio over there at Weberize, of course, with Star Trek Rich in the house. And got you looking pristine over there, too. Star Trek Rich is doing the thing.
As always, getting us right. And of course, I'm here live in the A.
That's right, man. Well, how's it going over there? What's the weather like in the
Man,
A right now?
it's been rainy the last couple days. It's been kind of cool and rainy. But we did get up to like 81 over the weekend, so
Okay.
that wasn't bad. Also, I was talking to Mama God, man. I heard it's clearing up out there in Omaha as well. Like that snow was just kind of a stop by.
Yeah, as soon as I leave,
Okay, pause gone. All right,
bring out the sun.
Yeah, and then of course I get to Vegas. It's 40 degrees outside.
Really? I was gonna ask, how's Vegas?
They gonna blame you, Paul.
Little cool.
Yeah. They
Don't
gonna say Paul bought this mess.
They
bought that weather with them.
They're not gonna blame me. They know I'm running from it. They gonna
followed you.
That's kind of how it was when I got here, though. Like when it snowed, I was like, I'm trying to get away from this.
You know what? Climate change is real.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wanda Lewis said, "Put Pops on the live." I don't know if he's gonna get on the live. I'm gonna try to get him to come out and give you a little wave or something though.
Just a quick,
live from Pop's house in Vegas, man. We chilling. We having a good time. It's good to see Pops. So
that
really,
chair you in look mighty comfortable.
There, Paul. I'm in Pop's command center chair right here, bro.
Oh, okay.
That's the way he cooks up the books. Where the books get cooked.
There it is.
Does it have massage and heating features?
All of that.
It does look like it.
I'm sitting up there. I'm having chair envy.
Man, I definitely need to give me one of those.
You know what happened.
And just stay away from all the features, Paul. Just stay away from the features.
No features for you.
Got pockets for all these remote controls. You got cup holders. You can lay back in and go to sleep. Yeah,
you on the Enterprise.
That's what it look like. It look like a captain's chair.
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Engage.
Make it so. Make it so.
Man, I'm definitely glad that you're able to hook it up, though. Big shout out to Pops for facilitating the spot
there you
for
go,
today's show. And hopefully everyone chiming in is doing all right this morning. Mark Manor coming through says good morning. So shout out to brother Mark Manor. Top of the morning to you. Let us know how everyone's week is going so far. What's going on in your world? What's new? And without further ado, we got some things to dive into. Is everybody all right?
Because news keep newsing.
It does. It does. And
it's forever newsing.
No matter how much we wanted to just stop sometimes and give us a break, it just keeps on newsing. Sometimes that's good and sometimes not so good. And we're here to talk about all of it. So we'll definitely get into the school news today. Some big wins coming out in OPS. And a big shout out to brother Senator Terrell McKinney. Put some respect on his name. Getting a big W. Again, getting a computer science requirement for public schools across the board. So we'll talk about the importance of that. It's definitely a huge thing. Of course, we talked about the internet and the impact it could have just on everyday life and keeping up with the times, if you will. So hopefully this will be a step in that direction. Also, speaking of steps in the right direction, Omaha public school teachers will be getting an extra financial bump for teaching summer school this year. They will be receiving extra pay, something that they definitely need, as many teachers are continuously close to burnout and, getting close to jumping off that edge, if you will.
A lot have quit. We've lost a lot of teachers. Yeah.
A lot of burnout. So we'll talk about, again, is this too little, too late? Is this a good sign of things to come? We'll talk about it all. And then also, speaking of what's going on in the schools, again, big shout out to brother Senator Terrell McKinney. They just had an advocacy seminar, if you will, advocacy series that streamed live on Zoom. It is on the Friends of Facebook group page for you to check out. But there's some conversation about what's going on in Omaha schools as well. Definitely, they even got down to the nitty gritty of what the Omaha School Board is supposed to do. And again, we have two friends of running for the school board. We've had a lot of discussion about some of the shenanigans surrounding our children's education and some of the fights happening on the school board level. So we'll definitely be talking about that coming up. Now, also, speaking of fights, still a fight to get Governor Ricketts to release that money, man. It's not like it's his money. That's what's so crazy.
It don't matter. This is
it really
principles to let somebody do and get some help.
Yeah, and anytime trying to get Governor Ricketts to do something for the people, it's gonna be a fight. You remember with Medicaid how he kicked that can down the road, if
And
you
it's
will.
federal funds. It's not coming out of Nebraska state funds. That's why I don't understand. It's just truly being mean just to be mean.
Well,
You got
we'll talk
Mean
about
Gene
it.
and Mean Pete.
Pistol Pete
Yeah.
strikes again. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. And then also, before we get out of here in today's show, we definitely have to talk about our fallen Panther, Robert Cecil, or Robert E. Cecil.
No,
Robert
Cecil. Okay. Just making sure I'm right. But definitely gonna put some respect on that brother's name. Again, another remnant of our history. Again, in the North Omaha community. So we'll talk about that and more. As always, if there's anything on your hearts, your minds that you feel the need to talk about, let us know. Drop it into the chat, and we'll try to get into that. In the meantime, in between time, let's get the show rolling. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, Star Trek Rich. Let's go.
Going down. Good morning. Once again, you're joined in with First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Star Trek Rich, and Michelle Troxclair, the three A-Grios in the house. She's here putting the she in the nanigans today. And on this, Wednesday the 9th, 2022. Yep. So thank you for all of you for joining us and coming on in early and jumping into the chat. It looks like brother Rome's Reviews said, he didn't come in all the way yet. Mama God in the house says 3 funerals in the first 2 days, but I'm going to keep pushing. Good morning, First Sky fam. Boy, that's rough.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I lost my aunt this past.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it's been rough. My father has lost 3 siblings in the past few months.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's been rough.
Give a shout out to Mr. Tibbs for us. And Amy Huffles gives us a good morning, fam. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Ms. Ickerfeld says he's never understood the source of money. He thought Medicaid expansion was President Obama's personal money.
I mean, when you're a billionaire, you just think everything coming from your whole pocket, from your own pocket.
Nah, that's not it. He think he's a billionaire because he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and that's what he think everybody else should do. So, Miss Vicky Young says, Mr. Cecil, yeah. Well, the heart goes out. Definitely going to speak about him today. So, for those of you that don't know, you will find out. Another member of our the Black Panther Party that was here that was in Omaha has passed away, and he was connected to the case that we talk about all the time with Mondo and
Ed Poindexter.
Right? So
it was still not free.
It's still not free on the 9th of March in 2022. Still not.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I have a small correction to make.
What's that?
Yes. Pete Ricketts did not pull himself up by his bootstraps. He pulled himself up by his daddy's bootstraps.
Just Eric Fell says he pulled himself up from his trust fund and his father put in place.
Got a small $1 million loan from his dad,
which turned out to be $14 million. Wait. $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget that the Ricketts and them are billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, we only got a few of those in the country, and Pete Ricketts is one of them, our governor. And it's really interesting to me that we have funds that the government is trying to help us get in order to help us pay the rent, and he don't want that to happen.
Our non-billionaire population needs some assistance, and he's like, nope.
It's a whole different world. He just doesn't understand.
Hot mess.
I think he understands. He understands.
Like I said, it's to his base. His base, you know, they tout this whole that we're just a bunch of people out here trying to get something for free off their dollars, off their taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, they think that it's going primarily to people of color, and that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Even if you funded every single black person in the state of Nebraska, that's only 4% of the state of Nebraska.
Again,
what I
it's a
was
So,
lack of
saying.
understanding. It's a lack of
yeah,
understanding. It's a
yeah.
disconnect.
We were
So,
talking about this Monday. It's a big disconnect for people to be voting for Ricketts and these guys that
Mhm.
are doing this to them when they're the ones who receive this aid more than anybody else.
That's right. So,
We got a Precious McKesson in the house. Says good morning, First Sky fam. She said I can't stand that that Ricketts the cricket.
we
all right,
call
that's
him
a new
Pete
one.
Prickets around
That's a
here.
new one.
Mhm.
You got to go to Josh Tag for all the
Yeah,
nicknames, man. He got them a lot.
he's on top of it.
You said Facebook flipping out, posting my comments 11 times. Huh? I wonder what that's about.
Huh.
We don't see that, so it must be on your end there.
Maybe,
Miss Eric
maybe,
Felt.
maybe you should
That's
come
in
over
case we
to.
missed it the first time.
Yeah, had to look back. But if Facebook is giving you some issues, definitely come over to YouTube. You know, we tubing, twitching, tweeting, all of that.
All that. Yeah, come
Yeah.
over to YouTube and give us a like and subscribe. Amy Huffless calls him a spiteful, racist man.
He is. He is.
Yeah. Tonight, Patterson says citizens with billions in this state and crumbling infrastructure all around. For real.
There you go.
Mhm.
There you go. Enough about Pete. Though I do want to talk about somebody who's in Lincoln who does get it. Of course, talking about brother Senator Terrell McKinney. Put some respect on his name. Definitely put some respect on his name for putting in the work, man. Continuing to put in the work. Actually, again, if you missed it, he did speak in and sort of co-host a recent advocacy seminar. They have a new advocacy series called Be the Leader You Are, which you can find on the Friends of First Sky Omaha Facebook group page. And there are a couple of things discussed in this advocacy seminar that are definitely relevant to a lot of things that we talk about here on this show, specifically as we will be getting into a little later on with the Robert Cecil story and talking about the life and legacy of brother Cecil. One thing that I urge people to go back and look at in this video is they do get into the pardon board. And again, brother Ed Poindexter, we've been fighting to get a pardon for him for quite some time. He's met with the pardon board, which, as we are talking about Governor Ricketts, that is a board that Governor Ricketts is a part of. And I believe has a part in picking some of the members and appointing some of the members for. So yeah, I definitely urge people to go back because they do discuss how to possibly change that, how to impact the pardon board, who makes up the pardon board, and how to again start to continue to alleviate some of these prison issues that we were discussing, even continuing our conversation from Monday, which we had with Matt Wynn from Flatwater Free Press, and looking at exactly the overcrowding and understaffing situation in Omaha prison or Nebraska prisons and just how bad it is. And the pardon board getting the right people on the pardon board can maybe start to alleviate some of that.
Okay, well, definitely check it out. Excuse me. Shout out to brother Muhammad that posted those videos and stuff on Friends of First Sky Omaha. Definitely gotta go back and check them out and see what they were talking about there. And then we also have plans to have brother McKinney on too pretty soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll work.
Definitely gotta let y'all know why we put some respect on his name around here. And it's not just the pardon board that was brought up in this conversation. Again, it is about an hour and a half video. So if you make the time or just as you can, I definitely urge you to check out this conversation because I got on some good topics, and not just the pardon board, but the education system in Omaha also was brought up. They even got into looking at how the OPS board is made up of, what are some of the duties and responsibilities of the OPS board, and some of the things that the students need, and how the OPS board can advocate for them. And one of the biggest wins is coming out of the latest Omaha Public Schools board is this implementation of the computer science requirement for public schools. Actually, this is on the state level. And this is from Senator Terrell McKinney. LB 1112 is the name of the bill. which was again introduced by Senator McKinney, would require each public school, so not just OPS, but all public schools throughout the state of Nebraska, to include computer science and technology education in the programming of its elementary and middle school beginning in 2024-25. Additionally, districts will require students to complete at least complete at least one 5-credit high school course in computer science and technology prior to graduation. Districts could also offer the course in a traditional classroom setting, blended learning environment, or other technology-based formats. So we could even see some home learning, which is a big win. Computer science and technology education would also include knowledge and skills related to computer literacy, educational technology, digital citizenship, information technology, and computer science.
Right on.
Yeah, if they had that when I was in high school as a requirement, I'd still be in high school.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
no, that would be a very bad thing. Yeah. There are certain requirements they have now that if they were required back when I graduated would have hindered my ability to move on in my life. Like physics. Yeah. I'm not math and science. No.
Oh like, yeah, the STEM and STEAM is definitely the end all be all when it comes to education nowadays, and whether that's a good or bad thing, I think there is some conversation in that. I have heard some people kind of comment how that STEAM format can actually kind of hinder some people's learning ability and education. But I will say, when it comes to this story, this bill, this is a huge win. Just going back to when I was in school, it wasn't that long ago, but just about 10 years ago or so now. I remember Westside High and learning that people who were at Westside, they all got Apple computers and they all got iPads, and they got introduced to this technology early on. And
you got yellow pads,
man. got some composite notebooks.
We got Y-pads. They got iPad. We got Y-pads.
Man, spine falling apart, the pens busting, all of that. So yeah, this is huge.
Pencils.
Man, this is huge. This is a huge thing for people to be introduced to computers, to be familiar and not intimidated by computers, because there's actually a lot of people that I know that are just intimidated by computers, and they can't do things like fill and sign a PDF, which makes filling out paperwork and creating a resume that is not lopsided and formatted in the correct way. Like, just those minor things, can make a big difference in getting a job or some kind of skill that can help you provide for your family.
Well, what I appreciate about the computer science thing is that Brother Terrell McKinney put some respect on his name, is acknowledging that there's going to be Black people in the future and in space. And if we don't learn programming in all these languages, then we're going to be short. So for that to be in school again feels like a tech high remnant, almost like the relevant technologies is what is going to be in high school now, like it should be. You know what I'm saying?
And I got to give a shout out to Tiffany Gamble, who has been really out there working with girls and getting them computer savvy and teaching them coding, because lucrative jobs in the future. And it's a field that a lot of young girls don't get into. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that during my soapbox moment, but only 2% of that entire field is African-American women.
Yeah. And you think about I just gonna say, you think about Hidden Figures, that film, and the impact on history and humanity that those women made. There's definitely the need for Asiatic women to be in those fields, and I mean, they say sisters could save the world, man. So
we trying,
man.
Hey,
if only we can let it. If only we can let y'all, man, get out the way for y'all to do y'all thing.
Y'all been saving the world for real. It's not a thing where you can. It's been
right.
history.
We just gotta stop trying to stop y'all. That's all.
Yeah,
move, get out the way.
And speaking of which, it is Women's History Month.
Yes, it is.
So I'm glad that you shout out our first woman business owner in Omaha already. Miss Gamble. Put some respect on her name. Been
Mm-hmm.
doing the thing, and I love what she's been doing too, man. That code school for girls, and there's a few people out here in Omaha that have been doing that. I'm saying out here. I keep on feeling funny about saying out here 'cause I'm in Vegas right now.
Yeah.
Wanda Lewis in the chat said, my son took calculus and trigonometry as early as 5th grade. Wow.
Mm.
In a private school. Okay.
Because he's smart.
Right.
Yeah, man. Brianna Fools says, Fool for OPS. She says, good morning. Got to prepare our kids for the 21st century. Tech is the fastest growing industry.
Yeah, man.
There you go. I was very impressed by some things that Senator Carol Blood, put some respect on her name, said about technology and how the internet and everything is about to be beamed from space, and we don't really know what's going on with the advancement of that. And she even knew as much to say that there's already high speed lines in the hood that's already been run and it's just not being used, and a lot of things that she knew about tech, which is I feel like is another a mark for her, because I would love to have a governor that knows something about future tech and the importance of it and what needs to happen there. So shout out to Beryl Blood, put some respect on her name, and also Brianna Full, who's running for a seat in OPS. Also, Brother Muhammad is another chat chimer that is running for a seat in OPS, because they get it too. They understand it needs to happen. Tanaya Patterson in the chat says, I STEM. Mathematics via mechanical pencil and spiral notebook. I like that.
Wait, we still doing long division on the paper.
Wanda Lewis says, I depend on my children to help me out. I heard that.
Yeah, man. I can't tell you how many TVs and computers and printers I done hooked up. But again, it makes a difference, man. Like you said, either you get with the times or you fall behind. And there's going to be a whole industry of jobs that if you don't get this information, you don't get this experience, that you're going to be locked out of. Which is why we see, the Snoop Dogg's making NFT labels, and the Jay-Z's getting into tech. And I don't know if y'all familiar with the rapper Chameleonaire, riding dirty Chameleonaire. He has been making millions and millions of dollars investing in tech and
he's a chameleonaire.
All right. Investing in tech and venture capitalism. That's where he's been making his bread and butter. I know Ray J has been making some moves with his Raycon.
I thought you were gonna say he'd been making some movies again. I was like,
nah.
Oh,
Come on, man.
No.
Come on, man. That's not the kind of tech I'm talking about. But yeah, it's the future, man. It definitely is the future, and space is the place. So we definitely have to carve out our space in this place.
So true. Mama God in the chat says, actually, when you think about it, children are able to work smartphones since about 2. They have attended school remotely. They'll be ready for it if we keep up with that pace. Very true.
Yeah.
Tanaya Patterson says, algebra should be introduced earlier. I was in a pilot program in the 4th grade. I think I remember being introduced to algebra in the 5th grade. So by the time, but I didn't really take to it either. By the time I got to high school, they put me in pre-algebra, and I was just like, I don't know about this, y'all. And I want to say, luckily, even though it wasn't luck, they was looking at my little black self, going, "Oh, he's not gonna get it anyway. Let's put him in business math." And I was like, okay. And so they put me in business. I was in business math 1, 2, 3, and then they created a 4 for me.
Oh,
yeah. And I got to tell you, at the time I was like feeling something about it, but then later on in life, I'm like, how much more do I use business math now than I would have algebra?
Yeah. My algebra experience is very traumatic. There's a lot of trauma involved and heartache, along with my geometry. Never passed geometry.
Did the teachers ever see the windmill?
Man, they was close, but my geometry teacher was the wrestling coach. That might have been a problem.
Okay, and that doesn't quite add up.
That is very strategic, actually.
It must have knew, but no, it was
not this teacher. Oh, I better not.
Yeah, my chemistry teacher, he passed me with a D, and he informed me that D was a gift because he did not want me back again.
I better not see you ever again.
Well, I lit the counter on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Bunsen burner, and it singed the back of one of the cheerleader skirts.
You did it on purpose to tell the truth.
You don't need to be around any equipment. You don't need to
I
be
did
around any
not.
equipment.
You didn't even do that one on purpose?
No, it was my ADHD. I cut on the Bunsen burner and walked away. Squirrel. And then came back, and lit it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Blew up the
Just letting
lab.
gas all in the room.
Victor Young said, always remember to carry the one. I heard that.
Oh shoot.
I will say my disdain for math also changed my life. I was in line to be an engineer. Shout out to Omaha North and their engineering program. I mean, I had Kiewit internships and Union Pacific internships and all kind of stuff, but that math made me a journalist. Math made me. I'm just right. Yeah, I'm right.
Richard Lewis in the chat just said it's one of the reasons why I majored in journalism. Very little math credits.
Yeah.
It took me 3 times to pass Algebra 1.
See, man, my man started.
Me and Rich are kindred spirits.
That was going on here. We were a bunch of dead math heads.
Man, it's bad. And let me tell you, 2 of my kids were math geniuses.
Is
and I don't
right?
know. Kayla and Tyson. Tyson went all the way through trig. And Kayla, she aced all her math and all of her science. She kept throwing off the bell curve in her chemistry class.
Oh yeah.
So
I ain't say I was bad at math. I just said I ain't like it.
Well, no, I was bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it. It just wasn't fun.
Well, here one thing I've been impressed about moving to Omaha and finding out about what's going on in Omaha North is I do believe that it was a good move to have the STEM programs and stuff like that at North, because I think before that, if people remember in the 90s, there was not a whole lot of tech being introduced to the North Side. I remember that much from being here, and so the fact that I know a lot of kids that are inclined electronically that way. And so it's good that they have those programs and kind of push some kind of direction. You know what I mean? You can be hard pressed to find a high school, a poet high school, a Dead Poet Society high school, but finding something that you can use practically that way is probably a really good thing.
Actually,
they do have an arts one.
Yeah, I was gonna say to that point.
I think it's South.
I don't know if. Actually, yeah, I do think South is the art school.
I did hear about their music program is heavy over there.
Their music and theater programs are supposed to be pretty good. But that actually leads to this pathways situation that they're introducing in OPS, which I hope will kind of go in that direction as far as giving students some more direction and more of an idea of what's possible as far as careers. Because I will say that coming up through OPS, that is one thing that I wish I would have had, and I do give a shout out to Trio and some of the extracurricular programs that I was a part of, as far as introducing me to what some of the what can be done with some of these subjects. Like, yeah, you go into science, yeah, you go into math, but what types of jobs can you go into with this information? So again, big shout out to Brother Senator Terrell McKinney for at least getting this ball rolling and introducing people to technology. And this is one thing that jumped out to me with this bill that you kind of mentioned, Paul, digital citizenship, which is interesting. When you think about just the metaverse and what digital real estate, what is digital citizenship?
Well,
you mind kind of?
I think it has to do with being able to navigate around just like world citizenship. You can go anywhere and use the technology that you learn to get a job, to advance everything. You're on the world stage now with what the top advanced tech is doing, because tech is kind of running everything now. So it does give you entry into the world if you know this stuff really, really strongly. So
yeah. So again, big shout out to Brother Senator Terrell McKinney, which is exactly why we put some respect on his name around here. And as you can see, the fight that's going on right now in our education systems is important, and it impacts us all, especially when it comes to talking about the future and what places and spaces we'll find ourselves in the future.
For real, man. 7:35. If you believe in the concept of time, you're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul
in
B,
the morning.
Buddi3 Da Gawd, and Michelle Troxclair here as we make up the three A-Grios. The shenanigans is going down. Don't forget Star Trek Rich that's holding it down over their Weberized studios. I'm live from Pop's house in Vegas right now.
Hey.
Buddy's live from Atlanta, Georgia. So we making
Atlanta.
It's going down. As a matter of fact, Pops in the chat says my algebra started in 7th grade, and that was considered advanced at the time. I did well, and I could actually feel my mind expanding and learning how to think differently and abstractly. It taught me how to think outside the box. Okay. It was advocacy for some algebra this time around. I like that.
I don't. Yeah, algebra put me in a box. A small one.
I hear you. Miss Erica Felt in the chat says my son is part of a program 100 Black boys taking a calculus test this year. Okay.
Wow.
What's up?
Getting ready on that. Wanda Lewis says biology was my favorite class. Was you in there blowing stuff up too, like Michelle? Setting cheerleaders?
Yeah. No, biology I did well in.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but that chemistry, that required too much math. Biology, the reason I did so well in it because I had no problem dissecting stuff.
Just cutting
I
something up.
dissected my frog, my partner's frog, the other table across from me frog. I dissected everybody's frog.
Yeah, I wasn't about all that. Miss Erica Phil says when he passes, they'll give him $1,000. That's an incentive to do it. Get your test on.
How old is he? What grade is this?
Tanaya Patterson says, I never had a problem with math. Now ask me to write about a plant and I get stuck. Yeah. Everybody got their strengths.
Yeah.
Josh Tate says South has a fabulous video program too, which is cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then Brother Rich said algebra may as well be Sanskrit to me.
It's like when you throw the letters in. You done threw me.
That throws you off.
We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, Star Trek Rich, and live from Pop's house. Y'all say hey to Pops. And
hey, Pops.
Give some props for letting us come through here. We'll be right back. Yo. Good morning. First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, Star Trek Rich is going down, and all of you in the chat. The chat chimers really appreciate you. Stay tuned because Michelle's Soapbox moment is coming up soon. You do not want to miss that. We are in the middle of Women's History Month right now, and we're going to acknowledge the women's because we put some respect on all their names. And it's going down. So yeah, Miss Erica Felt in the chat says he's 15, a sophomore at North High.
Hey, V's up.
So man, that's okay. There you go. You got programs where they got a bunch of people taking tests and get paid if they go through.
It makes sense. I was in a couple engineering competitions at UNO and with Keywood and stuff at North. Like a lot of STEM and STEAM stuff at North. So big shout out to them.
Wanda Lewis says, I wasn't good at studying. When the teacher asked me a question, I just made up something and I was often right. It's called logic. I depend on
it's School ain't for smart people.
Wait, C is always the wait, or the child that said Jesus. Jesus is always the answer.
Mama God in the house says, made us mad. Mark was accepting a FAMU, FSU engineering program. He was the bomb in math. But when we went to the freshman orientation is when he broke the news. He changed to journalism. I went back to the hotel and cried. Dang.
Yeah, she didn't tell me all that. No, we had this conversation. I remember we had this conversation at the kitchen table. I don't know, Mom. I don't know about that math. I'm gonna be out there in Florida,
struggling.
Come back. You might have to come back.
I can't have math and ramen noodles.
Yeah. But
You,
I don't know.
It sounds like you knew you were lucky enough to understand yourself a little earlier than most cats do.
Oh yeah. I ain't want to. If I'm gonna be paying and be in debt behind this education, it's gonna be something that I'm enjoy doing and wanting to use. And I'll be honest, that internship at Union Pacific is what did it for me. Sitting in that cubicle doing them systems engineering and all. I was like, nah. Nah, I can't do this.
I'm good.
I can't do this. This is too mundane. I need some body moving. I need some energy. You know, this is I'm going to sleep.
Well,
yeah, that's rough.
And here we are though. Here we are. We made it, Ma. We made it.
She's like,
making me sick.
Yeah, well,
the journalism. Yeah, it works out though. Stacey Jean gives us a good morning, First Sky family friends. Good morning, Stacey Jean. Miss Erica Fell says a nonprofit has created this program and wants to give incentive to children while still in school instead of telling them they'll get the money at graduation for scholarships. It's to incentivize them to push harder in school, I believe.
That makes sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense. What nonprofit organization is that? That's one that's doing the real work.
Man, yeah, we need to name definitely. And she says to black male students specifically. So
that's what's up.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Definitely need to figure out, what that program is to get them on. But it's not just the students that need to push, y'all. It's not just the students that need that check to push them. It's the teachers too, man.
You said nothing but a thing there.
Yeah, and it's the teachers too. And hopefully this latest news will help with that even just a little bit. It's quite the substantial bump in pay, if you ask me. This news coming out of Omaha World Herald. Omaha public school teachers will be receiving an extra pay to teach summer school in the 2022 and 2023 school years. During this Monday meeting, the OPS board approved a collective bargaining agreement between the district and the Omaha Education Association that sets the new rate. Summer school teachers, get this, previously received an extra duty rate of $28.50 per hour to teach outside of normal school years, i.e. summer schools. However, after this announcement, that rate will increase to $40 per hour, almost doubling the rate pay per hour, which is a nice bump. And again, just going right along with what we're talking about, Superintendent Dr. Cheryl Logan, put some respect on her name, says it's another step to recruit and support educators over the summer. Of course, Omaha area school districts have been creating incentives over the past several weeks to attract and retain staff amid a worsening shortage and rampant teacher burnout. So not just in the Omaha area, but really across the country. And that's to remind you of how bad the situation is. Again, remember, before the pandemic, there were widespread protests and teachers getting burnt out and having to pay for supplies with their own money and things like that. So again, the pandemic only made that situation, which was already bad, worse. So again, although this is a nice bump in pay, I'm not sure how much of an impact this will make, how big of an incentive this will be for prospective teachers. I would definitely love to hear from someone. I know we have someone in the chat who is studying to be an art teacher. Is that something that's enticing to you? I would definitely love to hear. Also, speaking of the students, OPS students will, OPS student teachers will also receive a stipend of $9,000 per semester. Students who work half a semester would also receive $4,500. So not only students, teachers, but also student teachers getting a piece of the pie as well.
Yeah, Brianna Full in the chat just co-signed on that. She says the OPS is going to start paying that $9,000 a semester. So, I mean, is it too little, too late? That's the question I have, because I told you when this pandemic was going, when we kind of around the first of the year when we started the show, we were talking a lot about our friends that are teachers that were talking about quitting. They were getting burned out in a big way. Just couldn't hang, and then things just got worse and worse and worse. But as far as I know, all of those teachers that I knew are still working. They pushed through. Teachers and nurses that I know, both of them were burned out and ready to go, and they pushed through. So I'm glad to see this help. But we all know that teachers are underpaid in the first doggone place. And so is it too little, too late?
It's almost sad. Like, I was at Walmart the other day and saw a lady pushing a cart with a whole bunch of school supplies, and I just knew she was a teacher. Like, I just knew, like, oh yeah, you're buying supplies. Yeah, you're not daycare. Like, no, I know you're a teacher, and that's sad.
Yeah, when you're paying out of your own pocket. But my niece-in-law quit. This her last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's done. And yeah, I don't think money is the whole issue here. It's about respect for the profession. I think that we're still on the agrarian schedule for education. And I think you have teachers there for 8 to 10 hours a day working with children. And if you've never worked with children, it's difficult. It's difficult. And, there's some people that's their calling and they love to do that. And you have some people who would love to do that, but for less time during the day. I think it's too much. It's too much.
And then, what we're talking about right now is this bump in pay for teaching summer school and stuff like that. A lot of teachers get involved thinking they're going to have summers off, but that ain't the case. You got to make ends meet by taking summer school classes and substitute classes and all kinds of stuff just to try to make it work. So this is rough, but it's good that they're going to get a little bump in pay for that extra work. It's really extra work. Wanda Lewis in the chat says they need music teachers too. That's for real.
And art teachers.
And art teachers, for real. Miss Erica Pell says, I have 2 clients who dropped from teaching at OPS last year and now are at private schools. One making less, but she's happier. I was thinking we had reported on so much that the teachers had to do, especially during the pandemic. They had to be like the mask police. They had to deal with masks and co-workers coming in with COVID and having to deal with half classes and putting curriculum together for homeschool situations
and dealing with crazy parents
and even over the course of us reporting, we've been talking about the possibility of them having to have guns and teachers carrying guns in school. Like, they put in all the security responsibilities on teachers and everything. You think about how much they got going on there. Raina Harrison Williams says, good morning to you. Says teachers definitely deserve it, but support staff needs a raise as well. Para, secretary and security, etc. We were all burned out. Support staff is essential. Wow.
That's true. That's true. Paras are essential. And I realized that when I had Jahi in school, because he was assigned specific paras initially. And what a huge difference they made. And then budgets got cut and he lost his para. Really? And and it made a big difference in his education. It really did. And so, yes, those paras are essential.
Actually,
especially for special needs kids.
To that point, West Side Community Schools, they announced early February that they will offer free tuition to Midland University for paraprofessionals who want to become teachers.
So, oh, really?
Yeah, wow. There is that. They also, West Side and Millard also announced following OPS's announcement that they will also create student teacher stipends as well. So it seems like it's all across the board, full gung ho on trying to recruit some teachers and make up from what we lost, from the pandemic and really prior to the pandemic. Yeah. But in regards to the finances of this, I did want to mention also really quickly that Senator Carol Blood, put some respect on her name, did mention and point out with the bill that Senator Terrell McKinney got passed as far as the technology requirements, who's going to pay for it. She did say that she worries that while this bill can be helpful. It puts school districts in a situation to be required to do something without the funding to back it. So that is something to think about.
Wanda Lewis along those lines says that they use the schools as part of the reason to raise property tax. However, they turn around and cut funding to the schools. We got to think. We think about that too. That's where our school dollars are coming from, is property taxes. And we just talked about Diane Badiato that's getting ready to come through here and raise up a whole bunch of estimations of homes and things, and so in appraisal. So it's going to be crazy with that tax. And then of course it doesn't seem like it even gets to the school sometimes. Other things to worry about. Brother Muhammad says everyone requires mental health help. That's something else to think about that they need in schools a little bit. Augie Kid in the house squad.
Hey,
Good morning,
squad.
Hey,
Brianna
Mars
Full
Bar.
Brianna Full says they need special needs teachers really bad too. There are funds in that package they approved on Monday to train more teachers to be qualified to teach special needs. So sounds like they're thinking about it a little bit and trying to throw some money at it. But again, follow the money. Where's the money coming from?
Right. And where's it going?
Need to be coming from Pete Ricketts' pocket. He can afford it.
As Wanda Lewis says, it's diverted to TIF.
Well,
yeah.
I can't, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody is kind of slamming TIF, but TIF has funded a lot of stuff that's gone on in North Omaha.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not money that is just up in the air and gone. They do have to pay that back after 15 years.
That's a little wild of not having it.
Yeah. Well, it helps to rebuild areas that are in need, supposedly. Now, the fact that Mutual of Omaha is asking for $60 million in TIF funds to build the skyscraper over the library spot that's a problem. But when you're asking for it to build things like in North and South Omaha where it's needed, that's where it does the most good.
Well, see, that's the thing. So they wrote Chris Bowling at the Reader wrote an article about it and had pinpointed places where they were asking for TIF, and there's not a whole lot of places that North and South is getting TIF dollars. It's mostly it's a lot of these stuff like the Blackstone. You know what I'm saying? Like these other areas that these huge Kiewit. There's a lot of big structures going up Midtown, downtown, and in maybe North downtown, but a whole lot of those dollars are not going there. So I think we have a pretty good understanding nowadays about what TIF is for and what and all that, but we're still getting a whole lot of people that seem to don't really need that to taking advantage of that. And the question is that taken away from other projects it could be used for, or taken away for just the tax dollars being taken away for that period of time that could have been helping that could be helping there. So
that could be going to the schools because that is, I think, property tax dollars.
Yeah. And again, to Miss Wanda Lewis's point, she says 20 years now. And I even think it might be up to 25, if I'm not mistaken. They did extend it recently in this last election cycle. And, to that point, that 20 years could be the time that they need to gentrify and displace, the residents in that area. And by the time that corporation does begin to pay the property taxes and to benefit the community, the people who actually needed it have already been displaced. Yeah,
that's truth.
So that's a lot of times why you say TIF.
Yeah,
it can be good, and even with gentrification, like the word gentrification in itself is not bad, but a lot of times how it's used is not to benefit the people that it's intended to benefit. So that's that. But again, follow the money.
Yeah. Nunashi L's in the house says peace to the gods. Good morning.
Hey, appreciate peace God. Peace God.
Mama God says I hope school board don't buy less class supplies since they pay them more in salary. Wow, they would do
that's real. That's real. And like, oh, you got enough, you can handle it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we will see. I would love to just speak with somebody who's a teacher. But the interesting part about all of that, and this is something that we should also add to this conversation, specifically with OPS and really all of the school districts, but they're very tight-lipped. They're very tight-lipped about some of this stuff because we have had in the past teachers when we're talking about the pandemic and how some of these things are being handled. Teachers not able to speak to, media outlets. Our partners at the Reader are having a difficult time getting a hold of some teachers and some officials through OPS. It's very tight-lipped over there, so
I think
that
it's in
is
their
also
contracts that they have to
there's some
approve things that they say about the so
there and that actually can kind of hinder us getting to the bottom of some of these things. But I say that to say I would love to have a teacher on if we can. The struggle is finding a teacher that's able and willing to put their neck on the line.
And luckily we have a couple of people that are running for school board that are keeping up with some of this stuff too and getting a lot of information from Brianna Full, put some respect on her name, Brother Muhammad put some respect on his name, running for school board, trying to get a seat on so they can be able to talk a little bit, be able to have a say there. So they're studying what's going on on that level too, and we're hearing from that. So
yeah, man,
appreciate that very much.
We need eyes and all hands on deck because again, this is dealing with our children. This is dealing with the youth, dealing with the future, and got to make sure it's right.
I see we got a good morning from Brooke. Good morning to you. We were just talking about teachers and the people that were studying to be teachers coming in, hearing this news that they're getting ready to up the level of pay for teachers to do extra stuff like teach summer school and all that. And so, if you can go back and take a listen to that when you get a chance, and maybe next show you can give us a little insight from your perspective if that's something that's appealing to you as a person who's studying to be a teacher. And see how much more of an incentive that would be for that. And what are your worries as a person learning, that's training to be a teacher? What's your worries from what you've seen in the industry so far? Might be something to talk about there. So Augie Kid in the chat says, I remember when Doug and Mika interviewed a teacher for one of their episodes, I had to do all kinds of vocal warping to hide their identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's in their contract. That's why they could lose their jobs. They could also be sued if I'm not mistaken.
It's a real risk for teachers to speak up and put their like I said, put their necks on the line to speak up about anything that's happening in the classroom. We
got a lot of teachers quitting, so maybe we can get some of them on.
Maybe
or that have quit already.
That's a good idea. Definitely. Hey, we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. So we got one more hour to go here on the show. First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul
Beeee.
Paul Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, the 3 A-Grios in the house. Of course, Star Trek Rich is holding it down in the back for us. And for those of you that don't know, I'm live at Pop's house right now in Vegas. Hey. And so so we represent Vegas, Atlanta,
and comfy chair.
Today. Man, the command, the captain's chair.
You got massage and heat therapy and all kind of stuff going on over there. When we start seeing them doing this, that means the massage is on.
What's he doing? The caps ain't even playing yet. Why?
Wait. You know what? I think I need to have a discussion with Rich.
We need to upgrade
one of them chairs in here. Rich, Man, y'all took me for a loop there for a second. Man. Okay, it is Women's History Month. And unlike Black History Month, this is a month where I am a proponent of celebrating the contributions of women to society and all of that. I get hung up in Black History Month that we're just celebrating the contributions that Black folks have made to make white life better. And I got a problem with that. But anyway, we want to celebrate all things woman this month. But before we really get into that, I think we need to discuss the plight of African-American women in this country and the differences, the disparities that are plaguing our women here. And they're large disparities. But before I do that, we're going to take a trip down history lane and talk about one of my favorites, Sojourner Truth. And she discussed in a speech back in 1852 at a women's suffrage conference in Akron, Ohio, what the differences were between the plights of Black women and the plights of white women. And she was put on the roster to speak there. Then she was stricken from that roster because Elizabeth Cady Stanton did not want to alienate white Southern women from the cause. And it was lobbying by the likes of Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, who got her put back on that roster. And the speech that she gave was recorded by hand and put in the narrative that Beecher Stowe wrote later on in 1853. And it was entitled, Ain't I a Woman? And what Ain't I a Woman does is discusses the differences between the way white women were treated and the way Black women were treated. Where white women were in the midst of a suffrage battle to not be treated as chattel, Black women were fighting not to be seen as cattle. And it was a big difference. And so that speech has been enshrined as a fantastic poem that really shows the struggle between the two in that suffrage movement. And it's called Ain't I a Woman? And it goes a little something like this. That little man in black there say that a woman need to be lifted over ditches and over mud puddles and have a best place everywhere. Well, ain't nobody give me a best place everywhere, and ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and ain't I a woman? I could work as hard and eat as much as any man when I could get to it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most all sold into slavery. And when I cried out a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? That little man in black there saying a woman can't have as much rights as a man because Christ wasn't a woman. I say, where did your Christ come from? But God and a woman. Man ain't had nothing to do with him. I say, if my cup is holding a pint and yours hold a quart, wouldn't it be mean of you not to let me have my full measure? I'm saying if the first woman God ever created was able to turn the whole world upside down, together, we ought to be able to turn it right side up again. That was Sojourner Truth's Ain't I a Woman? And in that, she talks about how Black women were not even seen as women. And so the suffrage movement that so many women were fighting for needed to include Black women. It needed to include all women in order to right wrongs that had been done and had been so unjust for so long. And the problem is we are still there. I cannot tell you how many of these Karen videos I've watched where these white women have completely lost their minds because they're terrified of losing their positions of privilege. And that's what's going on. When she talks about lifted over mud puddles and ditches and helped into carriages, that's what they want to maintain. That's what they want. And they're terrified that if you start helping Black women over mud puddles and into carriages, that they won't be helped. And we've got to fix that narrative because that's not true. Rising tides float all boats. And when I look at the disparities, the current disparities between Black women and white women, we have not made a whole lot of progress. We are still dying at much higher rates than white women from pregnancy and childbirth. We are still dying at a much higher rate than white women from breast cancer. White women get breast cancer more, but we die from it more. Other health disparities are huge. And when we talk about economics, we still get paid 10 cents less on the dollar than white women, sometimes up to 20%, depending on the field. We are much more likely to have issues in education, in job opportunities, and those things that make us equal on the same playing field. Black women are going to college more now than Black men. And when we talk about graduation rates, we are graduating at a much higher level than we used to, and much higher levels than our men. And we are starting businesses at higher levels. But the success of those businesses, as opposed to white women started businesses, is still huge in terms of failure rates. And it's not because we are less savvy. It is not because we don't know what we're doing. We're mismanaging. It boils back down to that ugly, ugly racism factor. We are less likely to get the capital we need. We are less likely to get supports that white women receive in the business world. And when we talk about affirmative action, let me be clear. Affirmative action is not just something that helps Black people or people of color. It was largely supportive of white women as well. And white women have taken advantage of it. And so we have to have these hard discussions. That speech by Sojourner Truth was made in 1852. And we are still fighting that very same battle for white women to recognize that linking up with us and bringing us into the fold does not diminish your cause. It can only strengthen it. And white women have got to stop being so afraid and looking at this finite pie that if anyone else gets a piece of it, my pie is smaller, my slice is smaller. They've got to stop that mentality. When Black women bring pie to the table or bring ingredients to the table, it makes the pie bigger and better. Trust and believe. And so my soapbox moment today during Women's History Month is we've got to stop repeating this history. We've got to stop perpetuating this history that leaves Black women at a disadvantage in almost every aspect of American life, and start to embrace the fact that we bring a whole lot to the table that can make life here in this country so much better for all women. And as I watch the nomination of the first Black woman to the Supreme Court, and the fact that her credentials surpass some of those who have already been placed on the Supreme Court, and the backlash that she is receiving already, it is disheartening. And I am just very excited that she may break that ceiling that has been there for so long. Just like Kamala Harris broke that ceiling and became the first, not only woman vice president, first Black woman vice president. And what she brings to that table, a veritable plethora of knowledge that, had this been a repeat of vice president choices past, we would not have. We would not have the intellect, the experiences, and all of that she brings. So my soapbox moment today is we need to honor the people of color, the women of color in this country. Bring them into the feminist fold. Honor their experiences, embrace their experiences, acknowledge their hardships, and put their platforms on the table as well. Bring them to the light so they can be acknowledged and dealt with on a real level. This is not something that we need to continue to put on the back table, on the back burner, let white women get their rights and everything first, and then maybe you can skate on the coattails. It's not good for the country. It's certainly not good for Black women. And to be truthful and honest, it's not good for white women either. So anything that is hindering that collaboration needs to be dealt with in a very real way. And white women, my progressive white women out there, get these Trump supporting white women in check. Because they're the ones that are hindering the motion forward. It's not Black women. And so I just needed to get that off my chest this morning. So that is my soapbox moment today.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
We knew it was coming.
Quite a doozy, as always, and definitely poignant words on this here, the 9th of
March 9th. We're in the middle of Women's History Month in March. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, a little more history on Sojourner Truth, if you must know, because this is, I felt this needed to be said. For those who didn't know, New York was a slave state at one time. And it was abolished in 1827 on the 4th of July, as a matter of fact, in the state of New York. And so Sojourner Truth was born in New York and supposedly was going to be granted her freedom in 1826. And on the day she was supposed to have it granted, her slave owners rescinded that. She ended up having to escape.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, just wanted to give y'all that little bit of background too.
Oh yeah. Powerful women throughout history, and even today, as you spoke, I kind of thought of some names that we can definitely honor today, especially our own history making sister, Precious McKesson, history making P, as we like to call her, politicking with P around here. Again, continuing to make history as the first African American woman director of the Democratic Party in Nebraska. So definitely shout out to her.
And also shout out to you, Michelle.
Yes,
I think that people are saying it in the chat. Even, we've been very purposeful in having you be involved in this thing from the very beginning, and it's because we recognize, your power and your voice out here is there's no match in Omaha. I know, I had to, when we were looking through, when I'm out here trying to raise funds and do all these things, we're putting our resumes and stuff down, and I have to remind people she got 2 master's degrees and like 3 bachelor's degrees, and she's been and minored in this and minored in that and did all this other stuff, majored in this and not just the credentials part, but the lived experience part. And everything else. So and it's always a surprise, like, oh, we knew she was profound, but we forgot that she has all them credentials too. We got to give you a shout out for if Nebraska knew what was good for them, they'd have you be the spokesperson for it.
Man, this will put you in some kind of official capacity. Maybe not mayor. I know you turned that one down.
I am not running for no public office. Trust and believe. Yeah.
Well, you're officially the first Sky Omaha spokesperson, and we
appreciate that.
As Pop said, it says Michelle Troxclair is our modern day Angela Davis. We love you, Michelle.
I love that comparison. I thank you. I don't think I'm worthy, but I appreciate it.
Hey, Pops, I got to tell you, the first time, one of the first times me and Michelle ever hung out, we went to go see Angela Davis at the Holland. And I knew when I took a picture of her standing next to Angela Davis, I was like, I know what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing two revolutionaries right in front of me. Two revolutionary black women. And yeah, so yeah, you right on with that, Pops, for sure. Yeah. Josh taking the chat says, I'm proud that Michelle is from Omaha, one of the great ones.
Oh, thank y'all. Y'all gonna make me cry on here. So stop.
No, the love is real. The love is real.
Mama God said, take it to the PhD level, be Dr. Michelle Troxclair. I heard that.
That was in the cards, and it still might happen. It just
still working on it.
Yeah, it depends on how much I don't want to pay back them student loans.
that part. But I would love to read your dissertation. I would love to.
Yes. So you know what? I may write that without going to school. I got so much to say.
That's why we let you soapbox every week. And Wanda Lewis says Sojourner Truth gave that speech 170 years ago, and very little has changed.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. That's why we need voices like Michelle's to continue to ring that bell and to remind us. And definitely in today's age, it seems like women left or right are finally getting the wins that they've been striving so long to achieve. With the likes of Kamala Harris, with the likes of Miss Stacey Abrams,
and Ketanji.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a Supreme Court justice named Ketanji.
Ketanji Brown Jackson. Hey, but tell me who argues better than an African woman? Come on.
You got that right.
All right now.
And who's more fair?
And that's that I think I don't think that Black women go into spaces with the intention of hurting any groups of people.
Come on now. And they've been taking care of groups of people all their life, including little white children and everything.
Hello.
So they ain't been doing nothing but caring for all of America all this time.
Also, remember, all this civilization, all of humanity can be traced back to an African woman named Lucy. So, how you gonna dishonor your mom and expect your house to be in order?
Oh, don't they say honor thy mother and thy father?
Okay. For thy days be long upon the earth plane. Okay.
We out here throwing biblical verses at you.
There it is. That's what's going down on a Wednesday morning, 8:18 in Omaha, Nebraska. Tell us how the weather is out there, by the way. Is it warming up at all?
No.
Because we are all remote. Oh, it's not, huh?
It's cold. But
it's cold and rainy down here too.
Yeah, it's cold. I need to add a few things, and this goes to show you how much things have not changed. I never forget when I think it was Patricia Arquette won her Oscar and got up on that stage and said that, because white women had marched with everybody else's cause, it's time for Black folk to start supporting these white women.
Wow.
Gave that speech. And, to support equal pay in Hollywood. Now, I'm all for equal pay in Hollywood, but you're asking us to ask for equal pay when we can't even get the jobs. I was like, wait a minute, you're not understanding the full scope here of the misogyny and the misogynoir that goes on in this country. And I was like, that speech pissed me off to the peak of pistivity.
That's a good one.
You've been talking about that speech for years now.
I was like, no, she didn't. Tell us we need to stop all of this and start helping white women. What? So that one there. And like I said, watching all of these Karen videos and all of that, I was like, stuff has not changed. Stuff has not changed. As I watch Black women be murdered by police pretty much at the same rate as Black men, but not getting the attention. It's bad. It's bad.
I was actually going to speak on to that because that's another thing that jumped out to me during your soapbox moment. Was again bringing it full circle and bringing it back home to other things that we discussed here on the show, the Kamisha Hollis story and how that's handled, and not just Kamisha's story, but just how Black, instances where women are brutalized, murdered, abused. A lot of their stories are undermined, swept under the rug, not really talked about, especially in cases when there's women missing. We see that a lot of times, especially with young girls, where one situation is handled with all the resources are thrown at it, and another gets maybe a story, a 750,000 word story, if that, and that's kind of it. So I did want to reiterate this call to action from Kamisha Hollis's sister, to get everyone on deck, because again, that is the same situation where the judges and everyone involved is kind of pushing this case to the side and sweeping it under the rug to the tune of a manslaughter plea deal. So again, the sister and family of Kamisha Hollis is asking everyone to write a letter to Judge Horatio Wheelock, sharing why a manslaughter charge is not enough, as well as the unfairness and how he was able to make a plea deal without disclosing where Kamisha was. She says, I know he cannot be forced to speak, but certainly something can be done. I hope we're also hoping for the maximum sentence. So again, in instances where sisters are trying to get justice, it's always a harder fight than their counterparts. So definitely appreciate you for bringing this to the forefront, Michelle.
Yeah, they most of the time don't even make the news. They don't even make the news.
Yeah.
You have to watch those documentaries on serial killers to find out that most of the women being killed by these serial killers are Black women.
And they do, because they know it's not going to be reported as much.
Right. And so we have to get to all of these disparities and address them all. Otherwise we're putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds.
We've been talking all year about Indigenous women that will go missing and just won't even be in the news at all. Black women, trans women, that are getting killed and disappeared and beat up and all kinds of stuff, and then they ain't even in the news. And it's literally every race of color, of every person of color that is a woman that something's happening is getting far less coverage, far less police support, far less detective. The detectives ain't even out on the cases half the time. It's a trip how it's just a given. It's a known thing. It's a given thing that's what's going to happen. Is that
they spent a month on national news for that one white woman in Colorado.
That's the only people really getting any kind of coverage.
And I was like, I feel for her family. That was a terrible thing that happened. But so many Black women go missing and Indigenous women go missing. Where's that coverage? Where is it? It's like they don't matter.
No.
And that's an incentive for killers.
Oh yeah. But I will like to say, on the positive side, in a different story, a different incidents, in which a sister was brutalized, had her rights violated. Talking about the case of Michaela Townsville, and big shout out to the ACLU for at least being somebody to step up and assist the sister, because again, this story is a story that happens very often. I kind of look at the story and think about Sandra Bland, who did not make it out of her situation. But Michaela Townsville's is an Omaha woman who recently sued Omaha Police Department and police officer Ryan Keel, who she said violated her civil rights when he grabbed her, brandished a taser, and arrested her during her family's Thanksgiving dinner back in 2019. The charges were later dismissed, and Townsville eventually lodged a citizen complaint about the officer's action. In response, Police Chief Todd Schmaderer did recommend for discipline for the officer, and Townsville's lawsuit did also seek court determination that her rights were violated, and that there were damages. And earlier this week, the city of Omaha did, again, with the assistance of the ACLU, reach an agreement to provide damages and to close the case, specifying that they did not serve as an admission that Keel violated Townsville's rights. So there's still not an official admission that her rights were violated, but there is some closure and accountability, which again, in a lot of these issues, and especially in the issue, or it's the case of Kamisha Hollis, where her family did not receive any closure and no one's being held accountable. well, there is some accountability, but not full accountability. Townsville says that she did feel like she got accountability, and that she hopes this case, which is why I wanted to point it out. She says, I hope awareness about what I and my family had to endure helps prevent something like this from happening to anyone else. She says, at this point, I'm focused on moving forward. I'm glad we were able to reach an agreement, and I'm grateful to the ACLU of Nebraska for taking up my case, because, again, she's lucky. A lot of times her situations and situations like hers get swept under the rug, go without, anyone really speaking up and defending her. So, again, big shout out to the ACLU.
And shout out to the ACLU, who, as far as their news thing is concerned, too, they're the ACLU is a bunch of lawyers that are trying to help out these causes, and they found it relevant enough to put a media team together for themselves in order to report their own news, because they also know that the news doesn't get reported like it should be as well. Also, shout out to Omar Valentine for bringing us this story via the Friends of First Sky Omaha page, tipping us to that ACLU page. So, yeah, shout out to everybody who's doing that. I'm glad that there's some positive news there. There's some closure there this time, but it's very, very rare that it happens. So I'm not surprised it made the news.
Yeah, and
it was the ACLU news, though.
Exactly. So again,
it wasn't CNN.
No, she got lucky. I would definitely like to point out that she got lucky in the fact that the ACLU stepped up. This is again, they only have limited resources. They can't defend every case like this, and too often a lot of women that find themselves in similar situations don't get the fortune that she received. But I will also like to point out the fact that the city of Omaha still did not admit to this woman's rights being violated, which they were. It's actually male officers are not supposed to touch citizens of the opposite sex. They're supposed to call in a
female officer.
Yep. To assist.
Schmatter said this article said Schmatter wanted to issue some discipline. I wonder what that was. I wonder what the discipline was going to look like.
There's actually an ACLU. There's a letter from Chief Todd Schmatter linked in the article to the ACLU. It says the internal affairs unit did formalize a citizen complaint against the officer. The internal affairs unit has completed the investigation of your complaint, and I have reviewed the case file. This incident was captured on body camera. The investigation found evidence to support the allegations of events as you described. Therefore, the allegations are sustained. The case file is being forwarded to the officer's chain of command for a recommendation of discipline. It does not say what that discipline will be.
Right. And we've seen the situation where Tosh Schmatter gives some discipline, and it can get overturned real easy by the police
union.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. Just to jump in the chat real quick, Von Chapman says he or they who controls the news controls the message.
Yeah, man.
And, this is why that phrase right there is exactly why we do what we're doing. We've started this up because we were tired of the message getting watered down or wrong in mainstream news, and we decided we needed to start talking about some of this stuff. We take mainstream news, read between the lines, and go find our other sources of information in order to really kind of talk about the things we need to talk about. So for sure. Katie L in the chat says the police union needs to be policed as well.
Yeah, man.
For real,
man. Well, first of all, when they talk about defunding the police, they weren't actually talking about defunding the police. It was about structural change. And part of that structural change needs to be with the union as well, and how much power they have.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, they are about protecting some of the most corrupt officers and some of their behaviors. And that's got to change. If internal investigations show that there was wrongdoing, the union should not be able to counter that.
Right.
They are the shield.
That's right. So true. Star Trek Rich in the chat says 23 years in news media. It comes down to people of color do not sell newspapers, get social media clicks, or create ad revenue. It's all about money.
Yeah.
This is for those who don't know, Star Trek Rich has been in the news industry for 23 years. So if he says that we doing something right over here, I listen to him because he knows what's needed in a big way. Wanda Lewis says, if you watch the city council meetings, Omaha is always paying out settlements due to the behavior of some of the Omaha police officers. They go before council requesting the payout, but they never say what it's for. Interesting.
It goes to Chris Bowling's article, Who Polices the Police?
And so that's our tax dollars. Our tax dollars are going to pay for the bad behavior of bad police officers.
We are paying for our own oppression in many ways.
Oh, man.
For our own oppression, funding our own oppression in many, many ways.
Yeah.
And let me throw this in here because I plan on doing a story on this as well. The backlog of rape kits and non-investigation of rapes in Omaha is huge. And I had a friend just go through that after 8 or 9 years, they finally processed her rape kit.
Wow.
So my tax dollars are going to pay for bad behavior of oppressors and not to process rape kits. And here it is, Women's History Month. I'm telling it. I'm telling all the business.
Hear that. 8:31 right now in Omaha, Nebraska. If you believe in the concept of time, we only got about half an hour left in the show. We appreciate everybody who's chiming in the chat and bringing some things up here. The conversation is hot right now. We know how it feels when the conversation gets good and hot and it's heated right now. So really appreciate everybody who is joined in on that. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, the three A-Grios back again with the shenanigans, and Star Trek Rich holding it down right there at Weberized Studios. Go to Weberized Studios if you got podcast ideas. It's going down. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, y'all.
All right.
If you've missed that soapbox moment, you can always go back to Facebook and watch the episode earlier. You got to check out Michelle Troxclair, Michelle Windmill of Change Troxclair on that soapbox doing the thing. And definitely go back and listen to it. It was a doozy today. If you need some inspiration about Women's History Month, this is one that you need to take, copy, show people everywhere. As a matter of fact, we'll have our squad here cut that out and repost it so that you can send it around to some people and definitely check out and see what's going on there. And just be able to inspire some other folks on the subject of Black women and their what's going on between Black women and white women. Really, when it comes down to it, how important that we need to make sure that we recognize that there's a difference in how the treatment happens, and that's just really what it is. So, and then of course, she killed the Sojourner Truth poem, "Ain't I a Woman?" Annually, that's our annual "Ain't I a Woman" speech there. So we love that, and definitely go back and check it out. Tell a friend, spread the word. If you're over on YouTube, or if you can't go over on YouTube for us, become a member. Go ahead and join and subscribe to YouTube. Hit the bell. We're definitely over there strong. And if you're on Facebook, please share the show. That'll get many people listening to it. So share the show on your Facebook page. And like I said, go back and listen to that soapbox moment if you've missed it for real. If you're just joining us, you're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
in the morning.
Hey. All Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, Michelle Troxclair, the 3 A-Grios with the shenanigans going on today on this Wednesday the 9th. And Star Trek Rich holding it down at Weberized Studios right there in Omaha, Nebraska. And all of you, everybody who's in the chat. Vicky's been hanging with us the whole time. Appreciate you. Really, really appreciate that. Vaughn Chapman is in the chat as well, talking about some things. So we everybody who's chimed in, really appreciate that. Ariel's 402. That's Mayor Sanchez with all his plethora of YouTube names. We appreciate it. Hit the like button over there. Mama God says, share this with daughters, nieces, sisters, and all women in your life. That's right.
Yeah,
Go
man.
back and check out that Michelle Troxclair soapbox moment. Was a doozy today for sure.
Man, tell a friend to tell a friend, y'all.
And just to add to that, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who were kind of the founders of the suffragist movement, purposely excluded Black women from the movement. And it was to not alienate Southern white women. They thought they needed them more on board than they needed Black women. And so it was very purposeful. And so as we took those two branches off, you know, where Black women started to gear more towards fighting for the rights of African Americans in the country and not necessarily African American women. We didn't reap any of the fruits really that white women had when they gained the right to vote. We essentially weren't able to vote till the 60s. So this has been an ongoing struggle between Black women and white women, and it needs to be addressed. Truly.
You know, now that I think about it, they used to, they were marching for the right to work back in the day. Black women been working since the slave ship. They didn't have the same fight.
No, they did not. And I brought that up a long time ago. I was asked when I was in college to do a group project on the Yellow Wallpaper, which is a short story about a white woman who goes through postpartum depression, and about her. It was a feminist piece. They hold this story up as a huge feminist piece, and I could not get with it. I said after my grandma had her kids, she had to go right back to work. She couldn't even have her postpartum depression.
Yeah.
You know, it was like,
oh man.
And that's the truth. My grandmothers had to work.
Right.
You know, my grandmother's grandmothers and my grandmother's grandmothers all had to work.
It never not worked.
No. And so big difference there. We were fighting to stay at home with our kids. Can we go out?
And I had to have kids working and take care of other people's kids.
And then the whole welfare system and welfare reform was based on the lie that it was Black women collecting all the welfare so they could sit at home and be lazy. I'm like, where do they get this mess from?
And at the expense of the white women, who are the people who are really the ones that benefit the most from any kind of welfare programs or anything, is white women. So they not only do they make up a narrative in order to try to further hurt people of color, but they do it at the expense of their own people and the needs that they have.
A lot of cutting off the nose to spite the face.
Katie L in the chat says white women did some, I'm losing it already. White women did some ugly stuff in history. It's time for us to take accountability and dismantle oppression while recognizing intersectionality.
There you go.
Very well said.
Very well said. Thank you.
Mr. Gaffel says, so a few years ago when the pink hats were a thing, I attempted to rally friends to join me at a march minus the hats and learned a lot when they told me why they would not be joining me. I thought I knew, but I learned a lot this year about Black women being disrespected by the leaders of the movement.
Oh yeah.
What's the pink hats? Was that a feminist?
It was the punani hats, and a lot of us don't have pink punanis.
There you go.
Because the Trump grabbed him by they were opposing Trump.
And it was a whole big old mess.
Yeah.
Wanda Lou says, as the oldest child, I was mama because my mama had to work. That's what I'm saying. Like it was never the same fight. Never the same fight from the jump. Well, that was one of the first movements, was them trying to be in the workforce. So, very interesting. Miss Harris, yeah, we'll move on from there. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Let's skip that comment. The shenanigans, y'all. The shenanigans.
8:40. The Haps is coming here a little later on in the show, so get your Haps together for us. I'm seeing that I'm getting some messages already about some Haps. We'll definitely read those when the time comes. One more comment, then we'll jump to the next story real quick. Terry Crawford says we cannot have the suffrage conversation without acknowledgement. The Delta Sigma's Theta sorority incorporated was present in representing Black women, although they were told not to come. We've been out. We've been about it since 1913. Heard that?
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of history there. Specifically told Black women, we don't want you. And so when Alice Walker coined the term womanism, that was for the Black women's suffragist movement rather than feminism, because we were fighting two very different battles. And had we had the support of white women and vice versa, we probably would have been a lot further along. Wow. Probably would have had a Black Supreme Court judge a lot sooner.
Yeah. But also, like, not even talk about historically or like modernly, the Me Too movement, which was started by sister, was eventually co-opted, and we saw with the Me Too movement as it gained steam and national recognition, our sisters were pushed to the forefront or pushed to the back and to the side.
Yeah.
Pops in the chat says the thing is that poor white women are not their people either. They may as well be Black women as far as the powers that be are concerned. I don't know about that. I kind of feel like they're definitely looked at differently than Black women.
They are, but they are cutting off their nose to spite their face, like Buddy said earlier, when they go against programs and government assistance deals that would help them specifically. You are poor. Just because you're white does not pad your pockets. And so until they understand that, and that not all Black women are poor. And we have to get that stigma and recognize that too. We make up 7% of the population.
Yeah.
All 7% of us are not poor. We're talking about maybe 3 to 4% of Black women are poor. So 3 to 4% of the population is what you're talking about receiving any government benefits.
Yeah, it's a trip.
Do the math.
Definitely. Okay, so we're not gonna move on. Okay, well, let's go ahead and here you go. Little Mama's trying to get on the mic, so we gotta let him handle that.
It's when you got home studios, you in your massage chair. Yeah, we know.
Hey, at least I didn't fall asleep yet. I was gonna tell you that I was just thinking about this conversation I had with a white woman friend of mine about 6 or 7 years ago now. 6 or 7 years ago. It was the first time I had to really explain that when we say privilege, there's a whole. We are thinking of two different kinds of privilege, because she was a poor white woman that was like, I've never had a life of privilege. And so I don't understand that white people are privileged, this white privilege thing that you guys are talking about. And it was really profound after the discussion to explain, that you've never been shut down because of your color. And when privilege is a different kind of, I remember back in the day, that was what privilege was like, you lived a privileged lifestyle. You had born with a silver spoon, you made all this money and so on and so forth. And so if they didn't relate to that, but the way that we use white privilege is a totally different way than the way that she was thinking of it at the time. And as soon as she got that fact, it all came into perspective. Because the powers that be don't really care about nobody. Like Pops was saying, like they're not there. There's nobody that the privileged people think, or the powers that be think are their people, except for themselves.
Yeah, the 1%. There's a reason they call the 1%. That means the rest of y'all ain't included.
There you go. But they do have degrees and levels at which they treat people certain ways, for sure. And
the privilege, the way I try to explain it is this: that for all the obstacles you have in your life, for all of the trials and tribulations you have in your life, none of them are associated with your skin color.
Right. And
that's a privilege, because and one story I try to share with people. I had a girlfriend who's got a phone call from the school, something about her daughter, and she said, "You know what? I hate the fact that I cannot just assume my daughter screwed up. I have to question whether or not she was singled out because she's Black. If
Wow.
she, that kind of thing." White women never have to worry about that. White women don't have to worry about when their son walks out the door, he may not come back because of an interaction with a police officer. They never have to have those conversations with their children.
Right.
That's white privilege. And, in terms of medical care, you are going to receive good medical care where Black women can't assume that. We have to question everything.
Most
So,
yeah, it's very true. Pops in the chat says, I'm talking about why the powers that be don't care about poor white women are being affected too. Yeah, like I said, powers that be don't claim nobody. It seems like they treat everybody bad. They run over white men. If that's why they run over everybody. They run over each other all the time. That's all they know how to do.
Yep.
Ms. Hagerfeld says Black women are statistically greatly more educated than white women. Did not know that statistic.
They well, that's a very recent one, and it's because 8% of all Black women who go to college. Wait, let me get the statistic right here. 8% of all college graduates are Black women, when we only make up 12% of the college population. So we are graduating college where white women are not in that rate, at that rate. And so we are becoming more and more highly educated. And we were told when we went to college that was the great equalizer. And when you graduate and you get that college degree and you step out into the world, you realize, no, it's really not. So here we have a bunch of highly educated Black women who are not getting the jobs, not getting the promotions, and not making the money that our white counterparts have. And then you add to that, we are the highest growing population for business startups and entrepreneurship. But we are also high for business failures because we cannot go to a bank and receive the capital, and we don't have the assets when we step into it that our white counterparts have.
Yeah. So there you go. During this Women's History Month, make sure you explore and pay and buy from Black women who own businesses. Help them sustain what they got going on, for sure. Von Chapman says white women will always be privileged no matter their circumstances. Yes, and it was just an eye opener to me that white women that I thought would understand that didn't understand it because of the definition of the word privilege to them. That was eye opening to me.
They link it to money.
It took me back to the 80s watching like Silver Spoons and stuff like that. Like now, yeah, I know what you mean by. I know what you're thinking when we say privilege.
Yeah.
You're thinking lifestyles of the rich and famous. You're not that. So you don't have privilege. But now it was a conversation for a few years about what privilege actually means and how it's being used now. So interesting stuff. We're coming up on the end of the show though, and I know that we wanted to jump into a couple more subjects. Some things we got to talk about. A death of a panther.
Yes.
Just recently too. It's 8:48 right now in Omaha, Nebraska. Buddy, you want to just go ahead and jump into it, and we'll skip the break and go ahead and jump into it, and then we'll have time for some haps a little later on. So everybody in the chat, get your haps together so we can talk about that at the end as well. But yeah, I'll pass it to you, buddy.
Well, actually, I kind of was hoping to hear from others because I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with the life and legacy of Brother Robert E. Cecil. But we did lose a Panther. I do know that. And I do know that he did have somewhat of a role, as it is reported. Big shout out to our partners over at Noise in the landmark case that ended in the imprisonment of Mondo and Brother Ed Poindexter. And apparently Brother Robert E. Cecil was implemented in that situation as one of the ones who helped with the dynamite, passed off the dynamite, maybe even put the wick. I don't know if wick is the right term, but the wick in the dynamite. He apparently had some dynamite particles on his hands, if you will. But
Let's
Again,
kind of go back and just give a little instead of the details there, just a little overall on the case, or actually just the fact that he was the one that kind of spoke up. He was one that kind of broke the silence back in the day too on that case. The two Panthers were implicated in setting off a bomb that resulted in a police officer being killed. We've talked about this before. If you've been joining us for a while, we had Keatron Zykel on, who's been following the case for a long time, talking about Ed Poindexter and Mondo. And this brother that just passed away was a third Panther from back in the day. Was associated with them, is associated with the case. He was actually younger than Ed Poindexter, and so this is just more time that has gone by that these brothers have been unjustly imprisoned and indicted, and there's this brother is the latest person that has passed away from that time frame, and there was only a few Panthers back in for a short period of time in Omaha, and so to lose him is difficult, and it's also it could have been it might have been as more evidence comes out and there's people that are passing away that have evidence that were firsthand evidence and so on, be harder and harder to get Brother Poindexter out of jail. And so that's kind of what the significance here is, but also the significance of him. And like Buddy said, we just learned about this brother when Keatron Zykel came on because of just learning about the case more and more. So anybody, we know that we have people in the chat that knew the situation very well. If you're there and you have some things to speak on the brother, we really would love that. Just got the information about it last night, so we'll definitely talk to Noise and Keatron Zykel again to talk about his significance, and hopefully maybe even try to get somebody from the family to come on and talk about him as well, because I'm sure they're still in town.
Yeah. So, there's a little write-up posted. I think actually, Paul, you're the one posted this on the Friends of page. Shout out to Miss Gayla Lee Chambers, a daughter of former Senator Ernie Chambers. But she says, with great sadness, I announced the loss of North Omaha's very own Black Panther, Robert E. Cecil. He was a leader who fought for the rights of Black people and stood up for what he believed. I send my deepest condolences to his family and friends. And accompanied with that caption is a photo of seems to be a newspaper write-up. It says Robert E. Cecil told police his address. Was arrested about 5:30 p.m. Saturday and booked on suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder. Again, going back to the case that we've discussed, says Cecil listed his occupation as a student at the time of his arrest. So just to give you an idea of just how young this person was, actually he was 19. Paul, you mentioned he was younger than Ed Poindexter and Mondo Ilanga. He was 19 at the time. He was a student at Tech High, where apparently Technical High Principal Carl Palmquist and Cecil left school before the end of the first semester of the last school year. While at Tech, he was an officer in the Black Association for Black Association for Nationalism through Unity, also called Bantu, which was a youth wing of the Omaha chapter of the Black Panthers. Now, his mother is Mrs. Harriet Cecil, who was a former Great Omaha community action employee and a special education teacher.
Yeah.
Very cool. In the chat, we do have some people that are chiming up a little bit. Miss Erica Felt says Karen Stark, aka Mr. K's Clubhouse, just posted about how Mr. Cecil reached out to him to help him get into the Omaha Days Parade without him asking. Brooks says he was a good brother. He volunteered with a program to help single moms weatherize their cars for the winter. He helped me out. He was very kind and funny as well.
Wow.
There you go.
A life well lived. And, I think we have amassed enough evidence where they should be able to let Ed Poindexter out of prison. They just don't want to hear it. Or they don't want to acknowledge it. And so when we talk about losing people from that period who were there, who experienced all of that, the thing is, they have their testimony. They have the information. They are just being assholes about it. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that they may have made an error.
I mean, I think they know what they did. They just don't care. I mean, this is the this is we're in a war. We have been in the war. The people have been in a war with the powers that be for a long time. Brother Ed Poindexter is a prisoner of that war, and they're not going to let their prisoners go.
That's right.
Period.
COINTELPRO, I think, is a terrorist, domestic terrorism organization, and terrorized citizens who were trying to fight for equality and right to live.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too extreme or radical as far as like the war against the government, because government has its role, but there have been actors in governmental positions that have abused their power.
J. Edgar.
And has weaponized that against the people. And definitely this is one of those cases.
There you go. We'll definitely have Keaton Cycle on again. We had her on a few months back talking about this case, kind of introduce it to everybody that didn't know. So we'll definitely reach out to her and see if she wants to come back on and talk a little bit about the brother's life. But rest in peace in the meantime. It's as we say all the time, it's March 9th, 2021. Ed Poindexter still is not free.
Yep.
Brother Mondo passed away. And now we have another person from that period that passed away as well. So hopefully we can try to get the brother out of jail. He's a political prisoner, like Wanda Lewis said. Hopefully he can get out before he passes away too. That would be the goal. Let's move on from there. 8:56. Buddy, do you have anything we need to jump into before we get to the haps, or should we go ahead and save that? You want a lightning round anything, or how you feeling over there?
Well, really, the last story I have on the docket is this Pete Ricketts story, but we all know, we all kind of talked about it at the top of the show. Again, Governor Ricketts is still standing his ground and not releasing the $120 million in federal funds that the people need. Just another example of an elected official in government weaponizing his power against the people.
Hot mess, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the haps, because Pete Ricketts is just not happening. So let's get some haps happening. We got about 3 minutes, but I do want to see some shoulders moving. What's happening? What's going down? Michelle got the best shoulder bounce in town. It's going down. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. It's time for the haps. That's the time when we talk to you a little bit about what's going on around town that we think you need to be checking out, and time for you to tell us too. In 2 minutes or less, if you can, buddy. You got any haps for the people?
Actually, right now, no, I don't have any haps. Of course, we just reminding the people that the March for Freedom for Brother Jackson is still going on. That's March 26th. Again, March 26th, Saturday, March 26th. I believe the walk begins at Orchard Park, and this is to recognize and advocate for the freedom of Brother Ernest Jackson.
There you go.
We got one other hap. It's a Loom reunion on Friday.
What?
At what's that bar out there? The Barracuda, the Barricada,
Barnado.
Thank you.
Shout out to the fam over there.
So it's Friday, starts at 8, the Loom reunion. So I'm gonna be out there, dropping it like it's hot and hoping it come back up.
Like it's warm. Margie in the chat.
Go ahead.
Shouting out Omaha Film Festival. Omaha Film Festival will offer both physical events taking place at the Brown L. Talbot Theater, and streaming film viewers can watch from home in-person events, including the Writers Theater, limited in-person screenings, and the Off Academy, a 2-day educational outreach intended for middle and high school students to learn about filmmaking. So definitely check that out. Big shout out to the Omaha Film Festival squad. There's a link there for more information.
There you go. One more community meeting. Shout out to Wanda Lewis for sending this to me. Says, do you have questions regarding city-owned properties for sale? Yes. Do you know what city funding resources are available? No. Do you know what tax increment financing is? We do now. Community meeting at the Cumni Center. What center is that? Black Men United Conference Room. Okay, 4200 at North 30th Street. 6 o'clock on Thursday, March the 10th. So that's tomorrow. That's City Councilwoman Juanita Johnson, District 2 will be there. So let's definitely check that out. We'll go ahead and post it on the Friends of First Sky Omaha. But that is Thursday at 8 o'clock. Community meeting about some of these properties that we've been talking about here in TIFF and everything else. So definitely check it out. Like I said, we'll put that in Friends of First Sky Omaha. And let's go ahead and get on up out of here. Hey, Zane, how you doing, buddy? We'll see you in a few.
The dude.
The dude. Just want to thank everybody for joining us. Buddy, you got some words for the people before we get out of here?
Man, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. Seeing a lot of people saying great show and things like that. So I'm glad y'all appreciated it and enjoyed the show just as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. So it really is a love affair, and we definitely want to continue this conversation. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. We're tweeting, we're twitching, we're tubing, coming to you wherever you're at. Let's continue to have that conversation.
Michelle, you got anything to say?
No, I'm going to save it for next Wednesday.
Sounds good.
There you go.
Right on. A-Grios 402 says a YouTube channel to get a few more subscribers. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where we're on now. Trying to make it happen. And also share the show if you're on Facebook. Please share it on your page so more people can see it. Really appreciate that. Brooke says, great show. Sad I'm missing that reunion. I hear that. Pop says, this show just moves so fast. Love it and love all of you. See you on Friday. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. So, Brooke says, always love hearing Michelle. I think we all feel the same way. Thank you. You. Leia Keister says, thanks, guys. Von Chapman says, power to the people and live long and prosper. Love that. That sums up this show all the way right there. Power to the people and live long and prosper. I love it. That just it goes to show how much you understand us and we feel understood and heard. We appreciate it. Just want to thank the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. I want to thank our elders for allowing us to speak before them. I want to thank Black women for being Black women. And I want to thank all of you, the chat chimers, everybody who's in the chat and allows this conversation to go on. Really appreciate that. Can't do this without you. Shout out to Star Trek Rich and the Weberize crew. Really appreciate everybody at Weberize that allows us to be broadcasting live from their beautiful studios. If you have a podcast idea, definitely check out Weberize Studios. They are the experts. And everybody who is a reoccurring member of the station as well, we really appreciate that. We're doing our best to try to entice Michelle to stay around here and help us do a few things. She actually has come on to the crew in some new ways, and that's all because of your help. So if you have not become a member or a sponsor of the station yet, please consider doing so by going to firstskyOmaha.com and hit the donate button and become a reoccurring member. We really appreciate everybody that's already done that, and those of you yet to do that. We will see you on Friday. We will be live from the void. Shout out to Pops for letting me do the show at his house out here in Las Vegas with the Brook art piece in the back. Really appreciate that and appreciate all of you. And we'll see you guys. Take care. It is Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday right now.
Yeah, you know what day it is?
Hump day.
So we will see you Friday. We will see you Friday, and you guys have a good one. Take care of each other. Peace.
By the way, Vanguard